25-year rule hit the 90s Japanese cars, we saw a large uptick in importation in the United States. This in turn created business opportunities, not just in America, but in Japan. Let's face it, America is a very large country, and we have a lot more people than other countries. Canada is pretty large too, but much of Canada isn't filled with people, and they've had these cars for an extra 10 or 15 years longer than During my research, I have found there's lots of different ways to import a car now. I've known people before these cars were popular that would do it, and they would really just import some rare BMWs or Ferraris or something from Europe, maybe some really old Japanese cars, but it wasn't a real big business back then. Now you have a lot of people doing different types of imports. The big thing used to be doing auctions. I personally chose not to do an auction because I wasn't looking for a project car. If you're going to buy an auction car, you're not going to be able to properly inspect the vehicle. So if you're looking for a drift missile, or you're willing to put the extra money in a project, especially when you're buying an RX-7, one of my biggest needs when inspecting a RX-7 is a compression test. So I chose to go search for individual parties or dealerships in Japan. Somebody that can videotape and take the pictures I request, and they can videotape a compression test and show me that this thing's healthy. When you go through auction, you don't get that opportunity. You might be able to pay somebody to go and do like a once over. It's pretty much just a kick in the tires. You go look for any major rust spots. You can start the car. You can walk around it. You can't do anything real extensive. You can just look at a lot of cosmetic stuff. But so when it comes to RX-7s, I wasn't willing to take the chance through auctions. Yeah, you can probably score some decent deals. But now that these are illegal over the 25-year-old, you're going to pay a lot more than you used to from auctions. You used to be able to get some really good deals in auctions, but I have found through my searches that I was better off buying through a private party or a dealership because I can find really good quality cars at still fairly reasonable rates. They're not what they used to be. I can't pick them up for $5,000 or $6,000 like we used to be able to. But it's still about half the cost of a left-hand drive RX-7 when I purchased this. It is possible to do 90% of the importation yourself. You can fill out all the paperwork. You can do all the scheduling. As long as you have that ability and want to save money, go ahead and go for it. I chose not to because I didn't have the time to research the proper way to do so. I didn't want to deal with the language barrier. If you're importing a car from Japan, you're going to have to be working a lot at night. I'm busy at my day job, so I didn't have the time to stay up all night and try to work with the dealers, work with the sellers, and get the questions I wanted. So I chose to use a importer based out of the United States. I talked to probably 7 or 8 different importers. They all seem to have pretty varying fees. I mean, for just handling paperwork, some of them will charge you $6,000 just to do the paperwork and whatnot. The company I went through was a really reasonable price. There's only a fraction of that, but there was a importer literally 20 minutes from my house. So I figured that would be the best bet, and sent them an email. They wouldn't give me the time of day. Found out their fees was about 3 times what I paid my importer. So, I mean, I'm glad it didn't work out, but that's exactly why I got to shop around too. It's just crazy the swing of car prices you see with importing. Basic rule of thumb I have found is if you're looking for an imported car and you got to have it right now, you're not willing to wait for it from Japan, you're looking at a $6,000 to $12,000 markup once it hits the shore here. So once it hits the shore here, it's titled here, and you want to go buy it like from a regular dealership or a person, and you got to have that car right now, expect to pay, you know, $6,000 to $12,000 over what you would if you're willing to wait for it a few months. So with me, I didn't have to have the car right now. I spent quite a while looking for the right car, and it panned out just right. The way I went about it was I was searching a lot of sites, Car Sensor, GooNet. There's a few other ones you can search, and it's kind of like Auto Trader in America. There are a lot of classified ads. You can find these cars.
These are the 3 sites I probably use the most. If you've ever used sites like Auto Trader, you can probably see the similarity here. Just basic vehicle information, lots of pictures, some video if they want to provide it. It's not unusual for people to advertise their car on multiple sites to reach more possible buyers. You'll probably come across a lot of duplicates on these pages. It's not necessarily a bad thing because depending on the site, they might give you a little bit more information than the other one. Most of these sites usually allow you to change the currency so you don't have to do the manual calculation from yen to US dollars or whatever country you're from. If the selling site doesn't provide the VIN number, sometimes the pictures are high enough resolution for you to zoom in and obtain that VIN number. This will allow you to research the vehicle better. RVX.jp is one tool I used a lot while searching for my car. It's essentially Japan's version of Carfax. You can get the basic year, model, and make information just by putting in the VIN number for free. If you want the full report, it's actually fairly inexpensive. It's about $25, and it's a worthwhile investment if you're planning on spending quite a bit of money on a car. If the car had ever been sold at an auction, this should include the auction pictures as well as the auction sheet, which is very handy.
One thing I was a little shocked to find out was not all sellers will sell to you if you're planning on exporting the vehicle. There are some people there in Japan that want to keep those cars in their country. They don't like the fact that all their iconic cars are being exported out and it's driving the prices up in their country. I can totally respect that. But I was shocked to find that out. I actually found the exact car I was looking for. Same color, white. Model I was looking for. It was a few years newer than this, which I was originally looking for. But the seller just wouldn't sell because it was going to be exporting. It was lower miles than this. But it is what it is. I have no complaints about this car that I got. The mileage is still really low. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted as well. But that's one thing to keep an eye out for. My importer handled all the negotiations for me, handled all the paperwork, the exportation, the importation, taxes. All I had to do was write a check, and they handled everything.
Shut up and take my money!
If I were planning on importing something ultra rare, which I may in the future, something like R34 V-Spec GTR, 2000, 2001 FD RZ, something, something you're going to spend a lot of money on, I would go about hiring one of the exporters in Japan. There's a few I've been watching. I'll put some links down in the description. These guys have a really good track record, and what they do, they essentially go do the full-on inspection for you. It's not like your auction sales where they can just kind of go take a peek. These guys will take it for a drive. They'll get it up on a lift. So unless you can afford the plane ticket and the time to fly out there and shop and find something yourself, that's what I would recommend doing, is going through one of these well-known, highly respected exporters to do the proper inspection, because you do not want to spend a lot of money, $150,000 on a car, only to find out it's rusted out and you got another, $10,000 to $15,000 in body work you got to do to this thing. I'm the type of person to where I can do anything mechanically on a car. That's not that big of a deal to me, but the body is my biggest worry on a vehicle. I don't do body work.